We are the Girls Who Gab.
I'm Kassie.
And I'm Bayley.
And today's episode is all about the baby number 2,
Yes.
labor and delivery.
It's gonna get fun.
Yes.
Just kidding. It wasn't that exciting, but it's gonna be
But
fun.
I am excited to hear it. And it's like a different experience this time getting to hear your labor and delivery because the first time I wasn't expecting. So now it's like, haha, what do I have to look forward to?
I know. Well, yeah. It'll be either really exciting for you or really stressful and scary. So we're going to find out.
Yeah, I guess it's like
both. It'll be both. I was also telling Kassie that I feel like this one I'm way more prepared. We didn't start this podcast until Amelia was 3 years old.
Yeah.
So with her 3 years deep, I did not remember as much, and it wasn't as vivid as it is now.
Yeah.
6 months later versus 3 years.
Plus, you took notes for this one, knowing you would make an
prepared.
episode.
Yeah.
Whereas that one, obviously, not necessarily.
I did it.
The goal.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What are you drinking?
That is that. You know, today I'm drinking a beer. Well, a cider. I'm drinking a hard cider, an Angry Orchard. So, cheers.
Tasty.
Because that is how this show started. We were supposed to be drug talking.
Yes. You know what? I almost brought over. I found free alcohol-free wine.
Uh-huh.
And I've been drinking it. It's not exactly the same thing as wine. Like, it has a different flavor, but it is hitting the quench nicely. And I almost stopped and bought it on my way over, but then I realized Total Wine wasn't open yet anyways because it was too early for the winos.
Whoops.
They weren't open until 11, so I was like, okay,
you just barely missed it then.
Yeah, because it was like 10:30
when you showed up or something,
something.
right?
Yeah, I don't remember. But I'm just drinking water.
Yeah.
It's boring.
And to be fair for you, I don't do this usually. I also drink water with you or like my coffee or
I'm
fizz.
excited for you.
I just really wanted it
I also
today.
really want to smell it.
I also go to work after this. Stop! You said smell it!
Because I knew you wouldn't let me taste it.
You little rascal. Let's start with our cheers and pours.
Yes.
Do you want to start?
Sure.
Go
My cheers and pours are really connected, so
okay,
do both.
Yep.
So my cheers to that is that we are like pretty sure 99% going to get the house that we've been trying to get.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because it means that we won't be in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor when we have an infant. Like,
yeah.
Yay. It's the first time that I've ever lived in a home that, like, I've paid for. We're not buying it, we're renting it. But, like, it's the first time I've, like, it's my house, you know, not my parents or whatever. And same for Matt. So, like, it's an exciting new thing
chapter
for that part of it. And then, yeah, just, like, the fact that we're going to have a home, even though we're not owning it, still, like, to have the baby there.
It's a step forward, and to have the baby there.
Yeah. And, like, because in the 2-bedroom apartment, like, we were ready to do that. Like, that's fine. But just, it was, we were going to have to, like, cramp our space, which is fine. Like, we were going to handle it, but I'm just really excited that we have the space and that we'll be able to have enough space, too, to, like, let our friends come stay, our family. Like, we're going to have a guest room. Like, that's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So I'm just, so that's exciting. And then the pour one out of that whole thing is just, like, finances. Like, holy shit.
I know.
This changes everything for, like, what we were planning on, like, the way we were planning on spending our money in the next, like, year, basically. Yeah. So, like, that's nerve-wracking and scary, but...
in all the ways. Like, not only just a new house and that big of a financial difference from your apartment to house, but like throwing in a baby too. It's a curve for sure.
Right, and like we were planning for the baby. Like we knew this was going to be an expensive year to start off with. Right. And so then to like add on that house, it's like, okay, so it's feasible. Like we're not overextending ourselves, but it's just like it changes how much we're saving for a future home to buy and things like that. So it changes just changes the stress level of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you really have to think about it a little bit more. And,
Plus, for the house, like we're gonna need to buy big appliances. Like we do own a fridge already, but we don't own a washer dryer, and like we don't have a kitchen table like you guys have. Like,
I know.
We don't have, and obviously you don't have to buy everything all at once. We know that, but like
we did not have a dining room table for a long time.
Yeah, like I know that there's certain things like you can obviously wait on, and we're definitely, other than the washer dryer, going to prioritize the baby room. But Yeah, it just adds on more things that we need to buy on top of the difference in, like, our monthly rent price. Right. So it's just, like, stressful.
Yeah, no,
but overall, good things.
But
like,
super
definitely, definitely overall, there's a lot more pros that outweigh the cons.
The cons, I cannot wait for you also, because this house, you're going to be so much closer to me, and I'm just so bummed.
Yeah, like, it's...
Hopefully I don't move away again, because I feel like
you bought this house.
I'm just kidding.
You're not the one that's... We probably will move away again.
Before
you ever move. Yeah, we're, like, now going to be 30 minutes away instead of, like, 45
No,
to
but
an
you're
hour.
Only 30, because we're recording on a Saturday, so it's really busy, the traffic time right now.
Yeah, like, on the worst time frame.
Yeah,
it's, like, 30 minutes.
Exactly.
But if we timed it right, it could be, like,
20 minutes. Yeah.
Which is exciting.
I know.
I don't think we've lived that close to each other in years.
No,
like
it's
even
literally
when you were in
been
the
a long
city.
time. I think when I lived at the studio and you lived in the apartment, that was like the closest we've ever been.
Yeah,
that was
like around that same
5-mile radius of.
So
yeah, we've never gotten that luxury ever since then.
Yep.
Oh man. Okay. Have I told you the story about this bracelet that I'm wearing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's going to be my cheers to that. My pour one out is that Isaiah fell on his head this morning for the first time. And, which to me, yes, big deal. It's a head, a neck, it's a newborn.
Yeah,
very scary.
Of course.
You know, they're a little bit more flexible, so I was a little calm. But also, I was very calm because I dropped Amelia. Mm-hmm. I didn't actually drop her. She rolled off my bed. And I wasn't there to be able to catch her even in the slightest way. Mm-hmm. And it was off my bed, which when we had the bed frame, very, very high. I love high beds, so it was extremely high. Well, Isaiah fell out of his little bassinet this morning because he's at that point where he's starting to pull up on things and want to stand on his feet and on his knees. And so that's what he was doing. And it just happened the wrong way, and he totally went over. And thank goodness, though, I was at the edge of my bed closest to him, and so I was awake, kind of just, like, staring at him. But it happened so quick, and I caught him by his arm, so where he still landed on his head fairly hard.
But just not full force.
Exactly. And it's not a high drop, a bassinet compared to a bed. The bassinet, we don't have it
really
even
tall.
Barely a foot and a half off the floor, you know what I mean? So it wasn't that bad, but it was like initially scary and just that whole,
still stressful.
Yeah, still stressful for sure. So
don't feel that bad. When Brandon, my younger brother, who's 9 years younger than me, was a baby, so he had to have been like 3 or 4 months old, I think, or like around Isaiah's age. I don't know, maybe a little bit younger. I was 9, and I was holding him facing outwards, and I'm like. So I had him in my arms, like, for those of you who are only listening, you're not going to be able to understand what I'm saying because I don't know how to say it with words. But I had my arms out like this, and then his butt was in between my arms and my chest, and then his legs were out, and he's facing outward.
Yes.
And this is at the time frame when he's starting to...
Just mobile, and wants to
So I'm holding
squirm.
him like this, and he's, like, excited. He's looking, and then all of a sudden he got excited about something and completely just full forward. So straight out of, I was standing, like, I don't know, how old is a 9-year-old? I don't know.
How tall is a 9-year-old?
Right. That's what I meant. Yep. And so, so he just full force, jumps out of my arms.
And you were holding him in an awkward position, too, where if he were to do that, you can't really bounce back really fast.
No, like you
versus if it's a little higher in the chest or the stomach area, but you were down in his crotch area.
Exactly. Yeah, like, if I had one arm under him and then the other one around his chest, I would have been able to catch him, but I had both arms under his feet. Yeah. So and there's nothing to catch other than maybe his feet.
Really quick. Yeah, but that happened so fast.
So it was really scary, and... Like, I was crying harder than he was.
Yeah, because he felt so bad.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my god, I killed my brother.
Oh my god!
Fine. He was fine. And, like, my stepdad, I remember, was really, like, nervous. He wanted to go to the hospital or whatever. And my mom, like, this was her second kid, so she was the calmest of anyone. And she was like, okay, so, like, he cried, which is a good thing because it means that there's no, like, mental immediate issue. Right. And we're just gonna, like, watch him. And she, like, did some research on, like, checking for concussion stuff. Right.
sleeping and
all those things. And so we just basically watched him for a few hours, and he ended up being fine. And she had like a doctor's appointment coming up anyways where she brought it up.
Oh, okay.
So like it was like within the next few days, so she didn't feel it necessary to go to the ER for that.
Yeah. Which, same thing this morning. Andre was like, do we need to go to the doctor? I was like, no, like, he's fine. Same thing. He was crying right away, and I know that that's a good sign. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm just going to hold him, make sure he doesn't fall asleep, because obviously that's a sign, right, too. And he didn't. It was actually his feeding time, so I was a little nervous, because when he gets his bottle, obviously he gets a little sleepy from the eating and the drinking. But he didn't. He stayed awake. He played his normal thing. So I was like, we're good. Fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. But it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, my brother, it was stressful at that age, too. And part of it could have easily been the age. But, like, now I'm like, what's going to happen the first time? Because I'm sure it'll happen more than once. Yeah. Of babies falling or kids falling and hurting themselves. Like, that was not the only time Brandon ever hit his head either. Like, other stories, I have plenty of him in particular.
Well, I feel like them hitting their head is different than, like, a kid falling out or off of something, or someone jumping.
The other story I'm, like, specifically thinking of, he was about 4, and he fell out of we had bar tabletop, like, our kitchen table was a bar table, so it's tall.
I can't.
And he fell straight into the wall, and the wall had a dent.
Oh my god, strong-headed kid.
Yeah, seriously. So that is another story that he ended up being fine, but of course. Anyways,
right.
What about your
my cheers? My cheers. Okay, so the bracelet. Yes. So really cute, funny, embarrassing, not for myself story that I love. So we have this new event manager, right? Okay. So she coordinates all the things. She's considered a manager in the building. So nice. Well, she just started because we lost our other one through the pandemic. And she is not coming from any Morin's or Landry's affiliated location. Completely different, like a resort planning thing. And so she's wonderful. She's very nice. She had to train in every position before going to her official position and starting. And then she had to train, like, actual... her job title at a different location. So she wasn't with us for, again, 2 weeks. But anyways, because she trained every spot and position, she was with me serving 2 days. And then because I just so happened to be a captain for banquets, which is the events that she manages now, she had to work those as well to kind of see how they run. So she was with me for like a whole week, basically. Because it just worked out that way on the shifts that I worked. Mm-hmm. So I got to know her really well, and she got to know me really well, and she's so, so sweet. And she asks all the questions because managers just don't care my job. So she asks me a lot of questions, and I help her as much as I can, which just sounds so sad. But anyways, then we were working this tequila event at work, and it was just 3 or 4 of us servers. There was like 2 other managers in there. There was a representative from the tequila that we get, and then a bartender, and Tabitha, the lady, the event manager. At this point, she's done training. This is her first day, actually. Her first official day in her role, not training anymore. And my general manager, we're all chatting and all this stuff, and he mentioned something about the TVs, and she's like, because, like, I help her a lot, she's like, oh, I'm sure Haley will figure it out. And she doesn't point at me, and she's, and so... I'm not going to call her out in front of all these people and embarrass the heck out of her on her first day. And just, I'm not that type of person. Yeah. I'll tell her aside later. You know what I mean? And I'm also not afraid to tell someone, haha, you messed up. You know what I mean? It's just not me. So, but I wasn't going to call her out. And so then my general manager is like, who? Like, so, like,
did he know who she meant? Or did he really not know?
Not at all.
Okay.
And also, it's not like she called me, like Shannon.
No, she some random name.
One letter she mispronounced. Like, just give her it. You know what I mean? Anyways, I felt so bad for her. And then Sean was like, who? And I almost let it go. I still wasn't going to say anything. And then I saw her look at me kind of like,
help.
Like, like, what? Like, so concerned. And I was like, Tabitha, my name is Bayley, but it's okay. Like, please do not feel bad. This is the first time you've done it. Don't worry. And then Sean was like, anyways, and when I was like, oh, God, you're so rude. And she just stayed in the corner so embarrassed.
Oh, did she apologize?
She did. She felt so bad that day. Next time I see her, I go in, and she comes up to me, and she gives me this little tiny, like, bag. Uh-huh. And I open it, and I'm so confused because I didn't care about the situation. It had been a couple days
like,
later, so I was literally like, what is this? Like, what do you mean? And she's like, just open it. And I open it, and it's this bracelet that I'm wearing. And it says my name on it.
And it's spelled right.
It's spelled right. And then there's a little heart on it. And I literally cried. I cried right then and there when she gave it to me in the middle of the restaurant. I was like, you're so sweet. Like, she's like, I felt so bad, and he made me feel so embarrassed, and all this stuff. And she's like, so I gave it to you, and it's engraved with your name, so I'll definitely never forget.
Well, now that this like traumatic moment is burned in her memory, she's never gonna forget your name.
Oh my gosh, that is
so funny.
I laughed extremely hard. It was the best.
Okay, I feel like I've gotten names wrong before too. I feel like I've gotten your name wrong before.
I don't know. I don't think
not
you ever have.
Not like that, where I thought your name was wrong. Like, I thought your name was a different name. But, like, I feel like I have definitely mixed up friends' names before. Like, when we're all hanging out, I like, look at you and call you a different person.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that kind of a thing has happened a lot.
Right.
Like, it's relatively normal.
Yeah, people do that.
People get my name wrong all the time. And, like, I work with deaf people, so obviously they don't hear my name necessarily. Right. They spell it and, like, yeah, all of that. And I have this one coworker who's hard of hearing, so he uses his voice a lot. Mm-hmm. And he calls me Kassie, and, like, I'm not going to correct him because I don't really, one, I don't care, and two, like, it's not important. And I have another hearing coworker. Her name's Franca, and I thought her name was Franca because, again, we never say our names out loud.
Right.
We only type them or sign them. And so one day I called her for something, and so we used our voice for the first time together, like months into working together. And I said, oh, hey, Franca, how are you doing? And she, finishes the conversation, whatever. And then at the end she goes, also, I never get to correct people because no one's hearing in our work, but my name's Franca. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Oh, but she did it in the best way. She, like, didn't do it right then and there. She, like, did it afterwards.
Yeah, like at the very end.
Like, made a joke of it, you know what I mean?
So,
see,
happens all
ways
the time.
to do it and ways not to do it, Mr. Sean.
He's like, who? Was he really confused about who she meant? Yeah, so, like, he didn't know what he was doing.
No, you don't know this man.
Oh, let's get into it.
Okay, so let me start with saying that Isaiah was born on
February 11th.
No, I know the date. But was it a Thursday?
No, I think it was a Wednesday.
Isaiah was born on a Thursday. So let me start by saying is that I still had an appointment on that prior Monday. And that was going to be my last appointment because I was at this point on that day appointment Monday, I was 39 weeks.
Okay.
And I know that my doctor did not want me reaching 40 weeks just because it's just a new thing that they don't want it to go past 40 weeks. They don't recommend it. So some doctors still will let you go the 2 weeks past and then kind of talk about induction, but others will just be like, let's just do it now, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's how my doctor was, and I love her. So she was great. But so when she checked my dilation, I was still only 1 centimeter. So then she was like, okay, well, if it doesn't happen within the next couple days, let's schedule your induction. I was like, okay, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we scheduled it for Thursday. And then leading up until that, like, literally no signs. I was still having, like, I was getting worse lower back pain, but that was really it. There wasn't really any other signs. A lot more pressure down in my vaginal area, but that was not, like,
and you were having, like, Braxton Hicks, but were you having
actual contractions?
Yet?
I was, but they weren't, like, twice a day.
Oh, okay.
So nothing to be timed,
rare.
nothing to, yeah, exactly. Still very rare. Where, like, if I didn't get induced, honestly, I don't know if he would have still came for, like, another week. Okay. Like, so, I mean, I was dilated when I went into the hospital that morning, more than that 1 centimeter, but you can still stay there for however long, you know.
And his due date was the day after you were induced.
Exactly. Yep. Which Amelia was born 1 day before hers. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. So yeah, we go still the night before. We think stuff is going to happen, and then nothing. There was no signs of anything. So my mom came, and she stayed here the whole time with Amelia. Mm-hmm. So she came the night before because we had to check in at the hospital at 5 a.m. to get induced. So my mom stayed the night before. And your
hospital was kind of far.
Oh, very far, like 45 minutes far.
Yeah.
So, and that was never a concern to me, so.
Mm-hmm. Just better that you didn't have to labor in a car.
Yeah, I know, right? Can you imagine? No.
I'm really nervous because with this new move, so I'm with Kaiser, which means there's not like, there's not.
There's a Kaiser. There's 2.
Yeah, I did the GPS, and like at the worst time of traffic, if it just so happens to be that, it's like.
It is gonna be that time because you did that to yourself.
It's gonna be like 30 to 45 minutes for both of the hospitals are about that far on like the worst of the traffic.
Okay.
It's like it's the same way of like us.
Right. Okay, got it.
So like we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Oh, well, I am anxious for that.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't really like truly ever concerned with that, so that was fine. So my mom came, stayed. That was very nice. And then we left that morning. And still I woke up completely fine. No, nothing. We woke up. We left. Got to the hospital at 5 a.m. And then by the time, it probably like for check-in and like the waiting time to check in, probably waited for like 20 minutes. Then walked upstairs. Then got checked in and signed some paperwork, sat in the waiting room again for like another 20 minutes, and then officially got moved in and to my labor and delivery room at like 6:30. So a good hour and a half. But it wasn't that bad. I mean, it went by really fast. Mm-hmm. Especially your mind's just like all over the place.
Yeah, you're like ready and like,
exactly.
Oh my God.
Yep.
We're about to have a day.
Yeah. Or like days, but thankfully for me it was a day less than. So when I finally got checked in, that's when like all the nurses were able to come in and check me out, and so at that point I was 3 centimeters dilated. So that was nice.
That's all before any like meds have been administered.
Yeah, any meds. No, nothing had happened. Like I hadn't lost my mucus plug yet, or so I thought. I think mucus plug is very hard for me to find and discover. And did it happen? I don't know, because with both pregnancies, I had a lot of discharge throughout the whole thing. Yeah, and so
same so far.
So it was very hard for me to be like, I don't check that much because it happens to me often. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you're not
really hard
necessarily looking for it because you already have experienced it through the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which sounds weird. I don't know. So I still to this day don't really know
if you lost it
before
lost it
or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So then 30 minutes later, they finally start the Pitocin. So at 7 o'clock, I get the Pitocin in. They want to see, like, things speed up. And that helps you, like, just your body contract, basically, and start that motion. Yeah. And all that jazz. And then my doctor, Catherine Artoon, I remember being super paranoid because if the baby were to come one day later, she wasn't going to be there.
Okay.
So I was also one day prior. So I honestly did not want him to come any other day because I was
see.
You need to come with this doctor.
On the 11th.
Yeah, this is your day to shine. So I remember being super anxious about that, which I'll touch base again on later because at the end of my story, I get really anxious and nervous. Okay. So it was good. So she finally comes in at around 9:30, and I'm still only at 3 centimeters dilated, which at this point it's like 2.5 hours after the Pitocin. So like nothing had really started.
You obviously didn't have, you were saying your contractions prior to showing up at the hospital. It was like maybe twice a day. After the Pitocin starts, how does it progress?
It progressed. I felt them for sure. It got like intensified, but it still wasn't like where I'm like, okay, I'm timing them and it's like every yada
like
3
yada.
I'm
just
whatever.
like,
yeah. And there was some even where in the beginning I was really strong. I did not feel them at all. The nurses would be like, "Are you feeling this right now?" And I'm like, "Not at all." Mind you, I'm not on the epidural yet. Like I just was. I don't, which is so weird because I'm such a baby to pain. Yeah. Like a baby. So I don't know how I wasn't.
I want to touch on, I'm going to end up comparing your birth with deliveries. Amelia a lot. But do you remember, because you had an epidural with Amelia, I know.
Yes.
Do you remember prior to the epidural being, as you call it, a baby? About the epidural? I mean, about the contractions?
Yes, because I remember having to walk around the hospital and like there's video clips of me and I'm just like, it's so hard for me to walk. I'm in so much pain in the videos. My face looks like white. I struggled a lot with it. And I'm obviously walking around. I don't have the epidural yet. Like, it was painful. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. So I don't...
So
I don't know why was it different this time for me, because of the Pitocin. I don't know. I don't know.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was like, did you notice a difference between an induced labor versus not? Because a lot of times the research will say like induced labor tends to be significantly more intense, like unnaturally so.
Really?
Yeah, like that's a lot of.
I didn't know that.
Like research will say like, not say try not to get induced, but basically say that like an induced labor can be way more intense if you're trying to do it without an epidural. So like talking about like if you want to go unmedicated, meaning no pain meds. Right. Ideally you maybe completely don't want to be induced, because then the labor is like way stronger. The way that I've read that it is like when you're naturally going into labor and having contractions, they like build usually in a natural progression. Right. So you kind of like your body not gets used to it, because obviously it's painful, but like can prepare for it.
It's not a big difference. It's like
exactly
going up, building up to the big.
Exactly. Whereas when you're induced, it goes from like 0 to 100, and then you can't like handle.
Okay, so it's so funny you mentioned that, because I video logged this whole thing also, both on my phone on my own camera roll, but also on Instagram. And there was a couple people that had laughed, and I think you were one of the ones too, or I don't remember
probably
what, but laughed at the fact that on two of the videos, literally back to back, one video is like me chatting, I'm smiling, I'm laughing, and like saying like, yeah, I'm having contractions, da 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 da. And then the next one, I'm like standing up, like breathing so hard, and I'm like rocking like next to the bed, and I'm like, update, getting the epidural, just requested the epidural. And so it did like
go kind of
very fast
from one to the other.
But But yeah, I just think it's so bizarre how in the very beginning, like, I definitely was having contractions. Nurses were like, are you questioning why I wasn't feeling them?
Gotcha.
I just wasn't. I was totally fine until I was literally
like
having a great time during the whole day.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, I really was. I was like, it was just so funny. So then, because I'm only dilated still at 3 centimeters at 9:30, and I've already had the Pitocin and stuff, she finally inserts a balloon.
Okay.
So the balloon helps significantly, so that's really nice. And then,
does it make it more painful? Like, do you feel
not
it?
Really.
Or like, for you physically, you don't really notice. You didn't really notice it.
I didn't really notice.
Do you know what it does?
Yeah.
What does it do? For me and for them.
Wait. Hold on. I did, and I'm forgetting.
It helps with dilation, right?
Hold on. No. So what the balloon... I'm sorry. Obviously, you can't correct me if I'm wrong, because you're not here right now.
But in the comments,
if I am wrong, please let me know. I'm pretty much sure that the balloon obviously goes up into the canal area, and it balloons, obviously. And so it starts putting the pressure on your body, so your body thinks it's the baby
further
making
down.
Its way down and trying to push its way out. So your
body
feels that,
does
and it naturally starts the dilation and opens you up.
Weird.
Basically.
Bodies
Then
are crazy.
the balloon just falls out, which is so insane.
Do you know how
to
big
me.
the balloon is?
Yeah, she showed me. It's like this big.
So like a baby's head.
It's like a baby's head. Exactly. So, and then they have one up from that. But anyway, so it was so crazy because I remember her putting it in, and obviously they just put, like, you know those balloons that like clowns will have on their hips hanging, they look like strings, and then they blow them up and it's like, okay, that's exactly how this was. It's like literally like one of those little strings. They push that inside of you. They take out the thing that was inside to like harden it, you know what I mean? And then they blow it up, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, because like when they stick it in, it's not already full, obviously. It's like put in and then it's expanded. I did know
inflated.
That.
Well,
inflated,
it's just so funny. I had to explain it that way. But I remember her doing it, and I was like, I'm sorry. How does this come out of me now? Like, I'm so confused.
Do I have to birth this too?
What? So she was like, literally, it'll just fall out. Because it's a little bit smaller than 10 centimeters. Exactly. Yeah. But she was like, it'll literally just fall out. And that's when I know things are really going to get going. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's how that was. And all that jazz. Yeah. Then about an hour goes by, and my body like really starts contracting. And I'm like... leaning over the bed,
I need the epidural.
Standing up, and I need the epidural. And so I that's when I finally asked for it. Yeah, at 10:20 with everything speeding up, I finally got the epidural, and I asked for it because I needed that. And that was never, like, a doubt in my mind, by the way. So, like, from the beginning, I knew that's what I was getting. I had it with Amelia, so it was never a
Yeah, you
question.
always wanted one.
Always wanted one. Always knew that was a thing. So yeah, that was that. That was at 10:20, and then finally, after contractions start like speeding up and get stronger and stronger, I finally am like more dilated, and the balloon does fall out. It's so weird when it happens too, because like it doesn't. It's weird. All of a sudden, I think I feel something, and then I'm like, I think I just did, but I have the epidural, so I don't really know.
Right.
And then finally, I tell them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's right there." I'm like, "Wow, okay." This is so weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, and especially because you don't have full feeling everywhere.
It's weird. You don't like have control under there. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that it just falls out is pretty weird. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to push or anything.
It just
because like you have to push everything else.
I know. Well, because it's smaller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it was really weird. That was at 12:55. So then that's when Dr. Catherine Artoon comes in, and then she starts to like finish the removal process. My water breaks at that point. So then,
did it break naturally, or did it was it popped?
No, it broke naturally, but because of the balloon. So would you call that natural, or would you call that pop?
I just mean they didn't
do
the popping.
They did that with Amelia, but they didn't do that with this one.
Okay.
So yeah, with this one. I say LOL.
I feel like I had another question. Oh, do you know how dilated you were because of the balloon?
I don't remember. Okay. No, and I didn't write that down.
If you can hear Isaiah, he's playing.
Yeah,
no. Go with it.
His face too. Hi. Yeah, I don't know. Shoot, I wish that I did though, because then that obviously tells you how big the balloon was or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I definitely don't know. All the way from 12:55 to 6:17 is I'm hardcore contracting. I did a lot of stuff in between though, because it still took a really long freaking time, and they thought literally every time they came in, they were like, any minute now.
But you don't know how dilated you were at.
No,
that
I don't.
point.
I remember at the end. I remember right before I was like, they were like, okay, yeah, you need to push. We need to wait for doctor to get here. They were like, you're 8 centimeters right now.
Okay.
So still like.
So it had to have been less than 8. Yeah. And you probably were dilating throughout the 6 hours.
I definitely was, because it was intense. Like I was feeling it. So one thing I did leave out, my left side got feeling back.
Oh, okay.
So it was a little bit painful for me. Like they were asking me to like move, because I was doing like pregnancy balls and like weird shape balls.
Like the peanut.
There we go. I couldn't think of that. But the peanut I was using a lot. I was laying on my side for 30 minutes. Then I'd come in. I'd flip to my other side for 30 minutes. And then I'd come in and I was doing this weird horse thing. And I like had the peanut between and I had to hold my legs. Like it was really weird. They were trying everything.
It's like aerial yoga.
Yeah. Like that's how bad they wanted me to do.
Like just come on.
Yeah. But they were pushing it so hard too, because going back to what I said with my doctor not being there the day before and day after the 11th, at 6 o'clock, she was leaving. And so he was born at 6:17, mind you. So literally all the way up until I was like, like crying, because I was
get out of me.
Yes,
so my doctor's here.
Exactly. And backstory. Sorry for Isaiah. But backstory for why it was stressing me out so bad that if it wasn't her is because I was so paranoid that I didn't have like good relationships with Amelia's doctors, that was going to happen here. I did have a good relationship with his doctor, my doctor, however way you want to see that. But I didn't want someone else to deliver my baby because of the relationship that I built. And I know that happens. I'm not, I wasn't completely oblivious to that, and I wasn't completely terrified. I just was so proud of how this experience went doctor-wise versus the one with Amelia.
Yeah.
And just
so you
the
wanted
overall
to be able
experience.
To have
exactly.
That doctor.
Yeah.
And you didn't have, whoever was coming on after she left wasn't on your team that you had ever met?
Exactly. No, but it was going to be someone that I still never met.
Had never known.
That's someone delivering. I've been literally throughout the whole day. I was talking about poop with the ladies. I was talking about blood clots the size of eggs, and I was just like, it's so comfortable. I was having such a good time with the girls. Like, it was such a good day.
Yeah.
So I was just so nervous.
Yeah.
And then it finally, literally at 6:05, I remember this, at 6:05, I was like, I'm pretty much sure it's happening. I was on the peanut ball, and I just all of a sudden, I needed to poop. And that's, like, the only way to explain it. Like, I needed to so bad to where I was getting this, like, pinching feeling in my vagina area. Like, it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
It's so hard to explain. You literally won't know until you go through it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those things, like, someone tells you and you're just like, oh, okay. Not that you don't believe it, but you're just like,
you can't
push it aside.
You can't wrap your head around exactly what you're saying.
Exactly. Not until it happens. And so, yeah, I don't even know. But that was that.
So then she came.
And then they were, like, literally good because her out time is now. And then I remember her walking, and she's like, good timing, because I was just about to come check on you, praying that this was the time, and it was the time. Okay, so they didn't have to go find her or anything, because that's how, like, pretty much off the clock she was. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I was just so thankful, and then she delivered Isaiah at 6:17.
Nice. So you only actually pushed for like 15 minutes.
Only about 15 minutes, yeah. Which was the same thing with Amelia.
Oh, I was just going to say, is that faster or slower?
No, roughly around the same time. Mm-hmm. I think with Amelia it was 15 minutes as well.
Did you, because I know sometimes they'll do like practice pushing to try to get you to...
Never.
And not...
No, I think they were so focused on these peanut balls the whole time. And all the different... Well,
and I wonder too if that's... Did they do practice pushing with Amelia? They call it practice pushing. From my understanding, it's trying to get your body to like
do it,
to do more.
I just pushed straight out down there because I was like, what, practice pushing? Yeah, like a Kegel, but out. Anyways, no, they never did any of that thing.
Oh, okay.
So it was just this. It's weird because this labor too was a little bit more difficult for me. Although like the time was the same and not long, like hardcore labor. It's called hard labor, right? Or like pushing labor, or like.
But yeah, I understand what you mean.
You know
I just don't remember which one is the right one.
It wasn't as easy to me. It was very hard. We took a lot more breaks. I was really struggling on like getting him out and keeping him out. What it was, but it was different.
I wonder if part of the reason it was harder is because you had that in the back of your mind of like, we got to get this done before 6.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
So maybe I was just under a little bit of more stress or something.
Yeah, like, because it's crazy how much, like, all of that, like, emotional side of things can end up really interacting with what's physically going on in an already stressful situation.
Yeah. That was really it. Then I got transferred to the, I don't know, mommy and baby ward. I don't freaking know what it's called, but...
Yeah, like the postpartum.
Postpartum. That's literally what it's called. Literally what it's called.
Okay, so I have a series of questions for you.
Oh my gosh, okay, ready, go.
Okay.
Did I poop? Yes.
Yeah. So with that though.
Yeah.
1, did you poop in both?
I did, yes. Yeah.
And how did you know?
How did I know? I asked. One of the really great conversations that I had throughout my day and what made my day so great, and all the ladies that I worked with amazing, is that Andre had asked, ooh, can you tell me, like, if
he wanted to know?
She poops. Yeah, because I wanted to know, so he was kind of doing it partially for me as well. He asked, and then she laughed, and then I said, no, but yeah, like, I want to know. She was telling us a funny story about one time the husband didn't want to know, but the wife did.
Okay.
So the wife was like, I'm going to give you a sign. I'm literally point at you or something, and you got to, like, shake your head or give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, because I need to know what I'm doing, and, like, who was seeing what down there kind of thing. And then so she was telling about how, like, literally after the baby exited this woman's body, she immediately looked at that nurse. It was like her first thought was like, did it happen? It was the funniest thing. And so I was like, oh, I'm not embarrassed or anything. Like, I just do want to know.
Yeah.
And so anyways, she told me, and then and then after, it wasn't one of my first thoughts. Like, it was
later.
Yeah, it was after like that first contact and the wiping, and then when they took him off to weigh him and such, I was like, okay, so did I? Yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny. Okay, next question is, okay, Andre being in the room.
Yes.
So there's a two-part question here, because
Okay.
the first time with Amelia, you had your mom in the room also.
Mm-hmm.
This time, you only had Andre, and I know obviously COVID played a role, but
Yes.
like, if COVID hadn't been a thing, do you think you would have chosen to do the same with your mom and Andre? Do you think you would have chosen differently?
I think I would have chose the same thing that I did this time. Just Andre being in the room, because I just wanted that experience with just him also. So I wanted to say once in my life that, yeah, it was just my husband and I, but I'm glad my mom got that chance, that opportunity.
The first time, yeah.
But I also wouldn't want anyone else to be with
You would
Amelia
only want... Okay,
for the
okay.
4 days that she was, 3 days
Oh, I
that
see,
she
I
was
see.
with her.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For like, her being around, obviously. Somebody's got to take care of her.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's only her that I would have not trusted, but just wanted to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
During such because like Amelia knew what was going
what
on.
was happening.
So
Yeah.
like the excitement, the stress, I'm sure, of like, when do they get to come home? And all of that, dealing with her side of that stuff.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my second part about Andre being in the room, of course, is like, did you use a mirror? Did he, like, watch everything? Did he cut the cord? All of those questions.
Little tiny details.
Yeah, like, was he queasy? Especially,
Oh
like, I feel like the first time.
I forgot. Yes, he was queasy. That, you just saying that right now. Okay. Favorite part of the day. Well, okay, that's kind of rude. Isaiah, you're the favorite part of the day. But one of my all-time favorite memories of that day is that so when I got the epidural with Amelia, I was only, like I said, that situation was so different. It was only me and my nurse in front of me and the anesthesiologist giving me the shot. Okay. No one was allowed to be. Everyone got kicked out because I was in an emergency room with a curtain between me and somebody else on the other side of me. Where this one, I was in my own room, obviously, so my husband was with me. Oh my gosh. Andre hates shots, does not do well with blood, doesn't do well with anything. Oh, no. And the epidural was huge. So I warned the nurses and the doctors. I was like, listen, he is terrified. I need you to not let him see it, and please look out for him. Not only me, which, yes, you should be concerned about me in this moment, but let's not make this about me. Let's make this about him right now, okay?
They didn't, like, have him leave for it?
No, because I wanted to hold on to him, and he wanted to also be there for me since he knew he couldn't for the first one. Okay. But I asked him, I said, are you sure you want to, like, step out, honestly?
Yeah, like,
and he was like, no. He wanted to do it.
Okay.
So they sit him down in front of me, and his head, what does he do? My head is on his chest, but he's not looking. Like, he's also looking down, and I'm, like, holding on to him. And then I remember him looking up for a second. He saw it. He got upset at himself, and then he immediately got queasy. And the nurse is like, oh, my God, you're pale. You he turned white. Yeah, but he was sitting down. But, you need to not be the one to support her right now. But then the anesthesiologist, goes for it and, gives me it. And then Andre's freaking out. And then immediately when he's done, you can feel him kind of, relax his body and, thank God, because I can't be there for you anymore kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay, so that moment, he got queasy.
He was queasy the whole moment, but officially in the end. And then finally, when I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm fine. You go take care of him now, is what I said. And so they took care of him, handed him apple juice, and
oh my God,
sat him by the window, gave him some fresh air.
That's funny.
Ridiculous also.
Okay, so but during the birthing, the actual...
He was fine.
So he's fine with that part.
Yeah.
So did he watch?
He watched. He half watched. Same thing like he did with Amelia. He watched what he could. Yes, there was a mirror for me to watch, so I was also watching, but also very focused on pushing. And that was good. He did cut the cord. The cord. He did cut the cord. He did with Amelia. He had no problem with that. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he does it. It's totally fine.
Interesting. Okay.
I know, he's queasy the weirdest things.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well,
I think it's just needles.
There's a lot of people who are freaked out by needles, though. That's, not an uncommon
It's just so bizarre to me. But that's just me. I grew up in hospitals, so.
Well, yeah. And, because, I don't know. I get it. I get it to a certain extent. Because, Roger, my stepdad, with both of the boys that are his kids, he stepped out of the room for the epidural, but he was totally fine. They had the mirror, all of it. He watched it all. He was totally fine.
Hilarious.
That did not freak him out. But the epidural, he had to be out of the room or he was going to pass out.
There he was. Andre should have done it, honestly. Because can you imagine? I mean, you sweet baby Jesus that it didn't go wrong. Because if it
he could
have moved me from him. He could have, like, taken me down with him as I'm getting a shot in. OMG.
Yep.
Anxiety.
Okay, so last 2 questions are related to, like, post-actual birth.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you did skin to skin.
Yes.
Was it, like, a long time, a short time?
No. He had mucus all over him. There was no cleaning before he went on. He was on, and it was a good while, too. And then they finally took him
and do all this.
Mm-hmm. They wiped him down really quick. Then we did a feeding.
Uh-huh.
And then after that is when they then officially washed him with just a warm cloth, weighed him, and all the measurements and all that jazz. Hi.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So that was that.
Gotcha.
And then the time that I was in the hospital.
That was my last question.
That was your last question. So as I mentioned, my mom was here for 3 days. So it was nice. So with COVID, giving birth through COVID, which, by the way, we didn't mention, but, like, masks, it was fine. I mean, doctors wore their masks, nurses wore their masks. I didn't have to wear my mask once I was checked in myself. And also, I'm the only one that had to get tested to get in. Andre didn't have to get tested to get in, which I thought was bizarre, but
Did he have to have a mask the whole time?
He did have to have a mask the whole time someone was around him or in our room.
Okay.
Or he went walking, of course.
Yeah.
But other than that, no. I didn't anytime, and then, yeah.
Gotcha.
So and I tried to do my best, too, even though the rule was once I was checked in and in my room, I didn't have to wear it when people were coming in and out either. I still tried to keep it on the best I could. Then I was like, F this, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't breathe. I'm going to hyperventilate, and I don't need that. I don't need another problem right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was that. But then the stay, so with COVID, they were trying, and their goal is to get you out within 24 hours.
Okay.
So, but the hard thing with the time that I delivered is that doctors, like, the ones that did the checks for the blood work or the jaundice and stuff were only there for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And their checkout time was around his 24 hours. So so with jaundice, so we actually ended up being there one more day than the 24 hours, which they wanted, because you can only check for jaundice 24 hours after birth. Mm-hmm. And so 24 hours after his birth, that doctor had left for the day. Oh. So we had to wait a full another
until he came back, yeah.
Exactly. And then they came back, took the blood work, and his jaundice was actually low. And so...
Meaning he had jaundice.
Correct. Meaning he had jaundice. And then... and then, so they kept us there for a few more hours, and then finally let us go that night, that evening. Okay. So we were there for, a total of 2 days. Well, technically 3 days if you're including the induction. But with him, it was 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they want you out 24 hours after he's born.
After birth.
Gotcha.
Correct. After his birth time.
Hello.
Honda bubs.
Yeah. The bubs.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't that bad at all. There wasn't really
And of
any
course,
problems,
there were no visitors allowed at the hospital. The same way, like, at Amelia's birth, me and my sister came and were, like, waiting for Amelia to be born, and then got to come into the room.
Right.
And, like, that obviously was not allowed during COVID life.
Which I
was gonna
really
ask, like, which one did you like better?
I'm not a person that likes to push people out. Honestly, someone can come over and be here all day. Like, I'm not someone who's, like, itching to, but I don't give signs that, okay, you need to go, get out of my house. Also, when I go somewhere, like, you got to be the one to tell me to go, because I'm not going to go.
Yeah,
you know
it's why we're friends, because we're very similar personalities. In that part.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know, I just like socializing. And
so
I really enjoyed having, and some people don't like too many visits to the hospital. They need a break or whatever. Mm-hmm. I loved it with Amelia. We had a lot of people come and visit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I really actually did enjoy this time of it just being Andre and I. And, we did a lot of FaceTimes and all that stuff. Yeah. But I don't know. I did enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't bad.
So neither one necessarily was like, oh, I think this one was the better choice.
Yeah. No,
you liked both.
I think I enjoyed both.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good that I also got to get both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was
cool.
Nice. Yeah. So that was really it. And then here we are, 6 months later. Because he's turned 6 months a few days ago.
Yeah.
The quote of today's episode is, giving birth should be your greatest achievement, not your greatest fear. I like it, but I will say it is very fearful. You know, things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And to elaborate a little bit more, blood clots are scary. Blood clots.
Blood clots.
Blood clots are extremely scary, and things can go very south with the mama when that happens. And so during the whole time after, you know, postpartum and being in the hospital, I vividly remember the nurses being like, okay, you need to let me know if you pass an egg-sized blood clot. And it's one of those things, again, like, you don't really know what they're talking about until it happens. You're like, okay, like, that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is literally what I said. I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to pass an egg-sized blood clot. Like, you're joking me, right? Yeah. It happened. It happened to me, and I was like, I felt that. Like, that was ginormous. It was so weird and bizarre, and it was scary, needless to say, because the reason why she said to let her know is because it can be scary. So that was,
it can mean something scary.
It can mean something. Right, exactly. Yeah, not it is, but it could lead up to something more. Yeah. But that was the only one. After that, it was like calmed down, and the blood clots that I passed were normal size.
Yeah.
And
and that's post-birth.
And that was post. Yeah. Exactly. So then, I mean, obviously then I was able to go home.
Yeah.
And everything was fine and dandy. And I think I passed one more egg size when I was back home. But other than that, it was really no problem. So.
Yeah, and I feel like it is this huge, well, for many reasons, it's this life-altering event, obviously, because you're gaining a baby, but also just, like, it's a huge physical, like, physiological thing that you do. Like, there's so much that can happen, and I understand why so many people, before they've done it, are scared.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to a friend of mine who, she's a stepmom but hasn't had any kids of her own, and she's about to get married to the dad of her stepchild. Okay. And I was asking her, like, oh, do you think that you'll have more? Like, do you think you'll have any to, you know, make siblings? Like, what do you think? She was like, she said, word for word, I would love to have more kids. I'm never giving birth. And I was like, okay. And then I asked her what she was scared of, and she said, well, if they could, like, knock me out and just, like, have a baby come out of me, I think that'd be great. So, like, she's only afraid of the birth part. She was like, pregnancy sounds fine, like, whatever.
Having a child, all that.
Yeah, she's, like, happy being, exactly. So, like, there are lots of people who are afraid of the labor and delivery part.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, like, I'm scared. Yeah. So that's why I like this quote, too, is because, like, obviously there's like a lot to be scared of, and, like, there's so many unknowns, just like we've been saying. Like, you can read all of this research, but until you experience it, like, you
just won't know. And every story is different. So, like, our friend, we're in the group chat, and our friend Sierra, she's getting closer and closer to her due date, which is October 4th, and she keeps asking questions. And I'm just like, I give her, you know, my experience and what I've gone through twice now. But it's just
that doesn't mean that's how it's going to happen.
Exactly. Like, I can only, like, give her so much information, and that still can get her nowhere.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Right. So it's just so crazy.
Yeah.
And you're so antsy.
Yep. I think it's time. It's time to go.
It's time to shake.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We sure did. Yeah. And we will hopefully be back in 2 weeks, but bear with us as we're still trying to figure out the 2-kid life schedule. Yeah, it's a rough time, but please hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, and then if you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future videos, then please leave those in the comments down below. You can also hit subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're available on all of the different platforms if you want to just listen. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
And we will see you next time.
Bye!
Cheers!
Cheers!